The crunch of gravel moved slowly past my door, heel by heel, and then the handle began to turn. I was the only guest in that row of rooms. Welcome to Dark Book Studios. Tonight we open two true accounts from America's forgotten highways, where the rooms face the night, the neon hums like a dying insect, and the only thing thinner than the walls is your sense of safety. Lock your door, draw the curtain, and keep your shoes by the bed, in case you have to run. Story 1. The Highway Room. I was 24, driving west with everything I owned in the hatchback. Sweatshirts, a guitar I couldn't play, and a box of cups that clinked on every pothole. I'd pushed too far that day, past midnight, chasing road lines until they swam. There was one exit with a gas station and an L-shaped motel whose rooms opened to the night. The kind of place where the ice machine is older than you are. The clerk slid me a key on a cracked plastic fob. "Park where the camera sees you," he said like a joke. But the camera on the roof was dead, frozen on a gray frame. I took the room on the far end of the row. End rooms always feel safer to me. Fewer neighbors, one direction to watch. But it also means one direction you can't see. The door lock was the old kind, a stiff deadbolt that only half commits. I gave it the test. 2 violent shoves with my shoulder. It held, or pretended to. I set my bag down. The bedspread smelled like dust and ancient cigarettes, the kind that come with a story you don't want. I pulled the curtain just enough to see the gravel run. The lot held 3 cars, including mine. The ice machine coughed once, then thought better of it. I meant to shower. I meant to text my mom. Instead, I lay on the squeaky mattress and let the silence settle. The kind of silence that's not empty at all. It's layered. Crickets, highway, thin plumbing somewhere in the bones of the building. I must have drifted. The light above the window was a sodium bruise against the curtain, and the air felt colder. That's what woke me. The temperature dipping the way it does right before your gut decides something is wrong. Then came the sound. Crunch, crunch, crunch. The slow conversation of shoe soles and gravel. It started near the office and worked its way down the row, unhurried, like a person appreciating cars at a lot. I watched the shadow leak under my door, a thin tongue of darkness tasting the split between the sill and the mat. It paused there, as if listening. The handle twitched. Not a knock, not a test. A little private experiment. If I turn this gently, will I surprise whoever's inside? I held my breath, and the breath held me back. Another twitch. Then a stronger turn that tapped the limit of the deadbolt. The door shifted just enough to make a low, wooden tisk. I reached for my phone with snail fingers. No bars. Of course. I slid off the mattress silently and put my weight against the door with the heel of my shoulder. I could feel the cool metal through the cheap paint. On the other side was a pulse I couldn't quite hear, but my bones felt it. The handle stilled. Then it started again. A slow, thoughtful test, as if the person was trying to memorize the stubbornness of my lock. I spoke through the door, low and steady, like I'd practiced it. Police are on their way. My voice didn't sound like mine. It sounded older. The handle stopped. The shadow under the door pulled back a hair, then vanished. But the footsteps didn't leave. They drifted sideways, past my window. A new sound took its place. The light tap of a key, or maybe a coin, against the glass. Tick, tick, as if to say, "Peek for me." I didn't peek. I stood there until my calves trembled. Finally, the steps continued down the row. Crunch, 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 pausing at each door. I heard a handle 2 doors over, a soft bump. Then a door farther down, another bump. Whoever they were cataloging, testing the weak fruit. After a long minute, a car engine coughed awake. Headlights flared under my curtain and crept along the far wall like slow ghosts. The engine idled, moved, stopped. The driver positioned the car to face the rooms, headlights right on the doors. I waited for a knock that never came. Eventually, the engine cut. The night reassembled itself in pieces. Crickets first, then highway, then my pulse. I didn't sleep. I sat at the tiny table with my shoes on, keys in one fist and my bag in the other. Sometime before dawn, I heard a police radio fuzz outside, then a voice low and tired speaking to the clerk. I didn't open up. I listened. By morning, the trough of rooms looked normal again. Sunlight puts makeup on things. There was a cruiser near the office and a woman talking to the officer, a blanket around her shoulders. I stepped out to return my key. The gravel looked exactly like it had sounded. The clerk didn't meet my eyes. He slid my receipt over without words. On his counter was a clipboard with 3 notes in the same handwriting. Room 12 handle tested. Room 7 handle tested. Room 3 entry attempt. The 3rd line had a hard dot at the end, like the pen had stopped there. I drove away and only looked in the rear view once. My room door was still closed. I have not stayed in an exterior corridor motel since. I tell myself it was just a thief, a drifter shopping for easy bolts. But there was a moment when the metal handle turned, and I swear the pressure on the other side felt like a person smiling.
Story 2. The room with no curtains. We were 3 friends in a borrowed car, 20 and invincible and wrong about both. It was one of those summer cross-country drives where you count the states by bug splatter. It was too late to be picky. The motel we found had a lobby made from half the original room, a bell on the desk, a map of the county with a thumbtack where the motel stood, as if it were proud to be there. The clerk gave us a key and said, "No parties, no pets, and don't prop the door." That last rule didn't register, not yet. The room was a museum of cigarettes, twin beds, a painting of a ship that had never seen water. The weird part wasn't the smell, it was the window. Someone had taken the curtains down and never put them back, just a naked rectangle of black glass facing the parking lot. "Nope," said Danny, which was her default setting for all things unsettling. We dragged a chair in front of the window like a bandage. We put another chair under the knob. The bolt clicked, but I didn't trust it. The door had been kicked once too often in another life. We made jokes until the laughter sounded like teeth. We left the bathroom light on. The fan in the corner didn't oscillate, it just stared. Around 2 a.m., a pair of headlights slid into the lot and stopped facing our room. The car idled. Nobody got out. We lay there with our breaths on hold and our eyes painting shapes. "Maybe he's checking directions," Danny whispered. The car idled 5 more minutes, then 10, then 15. By 20, it wasn't a person anymore. It was weather. The headlights turned off. The engine died. Silence inflated to fill the vacancy. Footsteps approached across the lot. Steady, then careful, then stealthy. The kind where one foot places itself gently and the other follows like it's learning how. They stopped just outside our door. The knob ticked once, like metal touching metal. Then a soft scrape near the latch, as if something thin was tasting the space there. Danny mouthed, "Don't move without sound." The chair under the knob seemed suddenly made of paper. Another scrape. Then the kind of knock only people who know fear give. 3 slow taps with a pause between. Not loud at all. respectful, knowing. Let me in, but make it your idea. I thought about shouting, but there's a second fear that lives right behind the first. If they learn your voice, they learn you. Instead, I looked at the naked window and wished for a curtain more than I've ever wished for anything. The glass reflected our room back at us in a dim loop. 2 beds, a bathroom glow, 3 statues breathing. The footsteps moved sideways toward the window. A shadow paced in front of the glass, a darker dark. It leaned, listening. The angle told me the head was tilted, ear near the seam. Then the slow drag of a fingernail across the pane. Skrrr. The sound went into my teeth. A tiny circle bloomed in the lower corner of the window. Breath fog where the dark head was. Whoever it was stood there, close enough to fog our world for a long time. Then the breath faded and came again. Higher, as if they were sliding along the glass, mapping. From the bed, I could see the corner of the parking lot through the uncurtained frame. Another set of headlights turned in slowly and then off, without ever fully facing us. Somewhere else in the motel, a door clicked, then clicked again, like a practice run. Danny reached for her phone. No service. We tried Wi-Fi. The network name was the motel's old name, plus a question mark. It said, connected, no internet, like a mood. The knob ticked again. This time it pressed hard enough to flex the chair leg. The metal protested with a small cry. The pressure held for 3 seconds. 5, 7. It stopped. The footsteps retreated slowly toward the lot. Then, nothing. Not the engine, not the insects. A hollow pause, like a breath held by a building. We stayed like that until first gray bled into the window. When birds started, the world seemed to start with them. And that's when the real fear arrived. The part where you unlock the door and step out into the scene where the night happened. We checked out fast. The clerk wasn't on duty. A different man with a newspaper was. He didn't look up. Outside, the lot was a stage after the show. Quiet, flattening out what had moved through it. We drove 2 miles to a diner that looked like a chrome toaster. The waitress poured coffees and said, "You girls from that motel down the road?" We nodded. She said nothing else, but the way she studied us made the sugar feel heavier. The radio at the counter was tuned to a local station. A man's voice, calm as morning, read headlines. One of them was a notice from the county sheriff's office, an attempted abduction in a motel a few exits north around 3 a.m. A woman traveling alone woke to her door opening. The chain held. The handle bore marks. Danny and I looked at each other over steam. We didn't speak until the waitress topped us off. Then she said, "Like we'd asked, curtains get stolen sometimes. People use them to make blankets when it gets cold. We tell folks not to prop the doors because the wind will catch and the lock won't set right when it closes." She paused. "You put something under it?" We told her about the chair. She nodded like that was a hymn. Then she said, quieter. "Used to be a long-haul driver lived in that lot, switching cars. Sheriff asked him to move along last winter. Some people don't move, they just get colder." We left before the plates were clean. On the highway, with the day real again, we said smart things like what were the odds, and maybe it was nothing. But that night taught me 2 kinds of fear. The one where you think someone is outside your door, and the colder one where you realize someone is outside everyone's door, deciding who gets a knock.
In conclusion, hotels are supposed to be pauses, safe commas in long sentences. But on the wrong road, they're just another address for the dark to find you. If you've ever had your own encounter on the highway, footsteps on the gravel, a hand at the handle, share it in the comments. Your account may appear in a future episode. Thanks for listening, and until next time, keep a sharp eye.